A little bit of behind the scenes news for you before we kick in to the special ups and downs episode for AEW's Fyter Fest. I have literally, and I mean this literally, had 0 hours of sleep. I was having an ups and downs match with Nathan Cruz, we'll say last night, but it doesn't feel like it, and I'll address that at the end of the video. Obviously I was there for Defiant Wrestling, but I want to let you know that in case this is one of the more surreal or bizarre episodes of the show you've ever seen. But I've told you we're done with it. As I just said, Fyter Fest is over and done with. It's only AEW's second show, technically third, depending on what you think of All In, but let's ensure we know where it stands in the wrestling encyclopedia by upping those downs. Let's up those downs. We kicked things off with the pre-show, and the best way to do that was SCU versus Private Party versus the Best Friends. It was really rather enjoyable. Private Party'd have to guess were the least known team in this, so they took their opportunity to make sure they shone a highlight on themselves and says, if you didn't think we were a good tag team, you were incredibly wrong. And while this makes no sense, because we haven't had enough AEW shows to have this opinion, this did feel very much like the quintessential AEW match. And what I mean by that is it starts at 0 and it goes to 100 in around about 6.9 seconds. The Best Friends won after the strong 0 on Cassidy, but I do want to give a shout out to Mark Queen, who tried to keep his sunglasses on throughout the entire match. I mean, they came off eventually, but I really appreciated the effort. Afterwards, the Dark Order appeared on the big screens and they said that they were going to make the Best Friends their first victims, and then the lights went out and the lights came back on, and there were a bunch of minions in the ring, but then the lights went off and they came back on and the minions were gone. Also, throughout all of this, we were reminded that yes, this does mean that Trent and Chuck are officially in the tournament to crown the first ever AEW champions. And now they've got targets on their back too. We also got a tease here about Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks losing their ring gear, and the payoff for this, for me personally, was absolutely wonderful. So I just want to say, Matt, Nick, Kenny, thank you so much for being gaming geeks. You justify my fandom. That made me happy, and what didn't make me quite as happy was seeing Leva Bates as the librarian, talking to Peter Avalon in the ring, who was also the librarian. They did like a shush spot, you know, shh, because they're librarians, and you know what I'm talking about if you watch Being the Elite. If I don't, I don't have to worry about it too much. And eventually, that transitioned into a match between Leva Bates and Ali. Getting it down. And look, it was on the pre-show, so you weren't meant to take it too seriously, and it was clearly played for laughs. I mean, at one point, Leva Bates had a book that was given to her by Peter Avalon, and she was going to hit Ali with the book, but instead Ali hit her with the book, and then also smashed her with a super kick, and that was that. By the time we got to that point, I was like, okay, just give me whatever's next. Again, it wasn't bad, just maybe a little misjudged. And that can also be said for Alex Bailey, who is the owner of the CEO Fighting League, taking on Michael Tozawa in one of the strangest, weirdest, I guess, hardcore matches I'd ever seen. I respect both these guys, especially, the non-wrestler stepping into the wrestling world, but it's a down. There were a few chuckles in there, especially when Nakazawa was choking Alex with a GameCube cord, and just kind of felt like it drifted too far in the wrong direction, like Ridge Racer. I can make gaming puns too. Ended with Michael using a thong to reverse a roll-up pin, and I kind of think that explains what this was. It was a little bit weird because I guess up to this point AEW have kind of played it straight and narrow, and I don't mind the quirky and weird humour. In fact, bring it on. Just these two matches maybe didn't tie into it as well as I would have hoped. Fyter Fest then got going properly as we had Chima taking on Christopher Daniels. It was a great way to remind everyone about the clearly bizarre yet amazing roster AEW has. Give it up. Obviously Chima is from OWE, and somebody tell me what the hell they feed those people, because he was just like wrapping Christopher Daniels up here in positions that couldn't have been good for his health. You know that AEW want to push this kid, even though I think he's actually quite older than a kid, because he kicked out of Christopher Daniels' Angel's Wings. Not only that, but he got the main nod too. A sunset flip into a Liger bomb was soon followed by a Meteora, and that meant Christopher Daniels got his shoulders pinned to the match. And that was made doubly more important because the commentary team let us know how long Christopher Daniels had been wrestling, and that he's had over 1,000 matches. And because of that, I could understand the importance of what was going on. Look at that little simple something put into my apple pie. So there was nothing too nuts here, but it was just good. That's not proper grammar, but who needs grammar in 2019 anyway? There's another up for Yuka Sasaki, Rio, and Nyla Rose. So yeah, give it up. This was smartly put together, given that we've seen so many triple threat matches over the years. Sometimes they blend into one. The structure didn't really change that much, but here, the two little girls were trying to take down the big girl because they knew if they came together, they were bigger than the big girl. However, when it was time for the two little girls to kick the shit out of each other, they did kick the shit out of each other because there's no love lost there either. Rio and Yuka even went for a double pin at one point, but Nyla Rose is too big and she's too strong and she held them right off. But also, Rose can fly. She executed a pretty damn good guillotine leg drop. You can't count for anything in All Elite Wrestling though, so after Nyla Rose had hit the Beast Bomb, Rio reversed it from nowhere and she rolled her up for the 1-2-3. That obviously annoyed Nyla Rose because she's like, what are you doing, you little bug? And when she went to flick her away again, Yuka was back in the ring and she was trying to help Rio. You know what Rio did? She pushed Yuka away and that really made me laugh because it made her come across like a right little sullen so-and-so. And then Yuka had this really sad face. And do you know what JR said when Yuka showed this sad face? He said, sad wrestling face right there. You made me laugh, JR. AEW then took Hangman Page, MJF, Jungle Boy, and Jimmy Havoc and let you know in no uncertain terms, this is what we're going to do with these dudes in our company. And here's why you should give a damn. Give it up. In short, MJF is easily AEW's best character, and he cut a promo before all of this that was the most non-PG thing you ever heard in your life. He told the crowd that their mothers swallow, and that he too used to like video games before he lost his virginity. Jungle Boy is one for the future. Jimmy Havoc is probably going to kick a lot of people's asses, likely Joey Janella, and that Hangman Page has been established as your #1 contender for the World Championship. This was underlined when Page did indeed pin Jimmy Havoc with the dead shot to get the 1-2-3. And like most matches, this is becoming a thing now. We're starting to learn out in All Elite Wrestling. There were just so many moves. In fact, there were so many moves, I was amazed that anybody was able to come up with new moves from this point on. Also, the team between Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, I am 100% in. The dude is dressed like a dinosaur. Is it even a dinosaur? I don't even know. Kip Sabian was on commentary throughout too, and because Hangman Page won, he's gonna take on Kipster soon. Let's never call him Kipster again. I will say at this juncture that yes, I'm well aware that AEW is a work in progress. I would never criticize them too much for that, but given that I woke up to a lot of social media saying otherwise, I'll talk about it because I try and be a man of the people. But yes, the presentation needs to keep improving so we don't miss moves, which did happen a few times, and really we need to turn that music up. Entrance music is not loud enough. But look, it's not the worst thing in the world, and I guarantee it's just gonna get better week in, week out. But again, so that I've heard you, and so that I've done my due, give it a down. Next was Cody versus Darby Allin, and this was basically like the old, coming together with the new and creating some weird kind of crazy thing. Give it up. And this wasn't as emotional as Dustin versus Cody from Double or Nothing, but they did do some things here that were pretty damn impressive. Again, it was traditional wrestling, meaning the crazy, I don't even know, universe of wrestling that we know in 2019, including at one point, Cody whipping Darby Allin towards the turnbuckle and him taking it by horizontally positioning his body between the turnbuckle, hitting the post, and then throwing himself on the floor. Darby Allin is crazy, but Darby Allin is also brilliant. This was kind of the story of the match too. How much pain could Allin take? And the answer was a hell of a lot, and he would have taken a hell of a lot more if at one point he hadn't taken Cody Rhodes' hand and throw that into the turnbuckle, and that's kind of what he used to get a bit of offense in. He focused on the wrist, he focused on the palm, he focused on the knuckles, and he tried to make Cody tap out because of that. It didn't really work, because then Darby Allin changed up his game. He climbed to the top rope, and he did a trust fall. Cody moved, and Darby Allin's back smashed into the ring apron. It looked like he was dead. That's the hardest part of the ring. We even used a body bag, and yes, you heard that right. Darby Allin had brought that with him to the ring. So when Cody heard the time limit was coming up, because you know, matches in AEW have time limits, he put Darby in the body bag and then gave him a disaster kick. It didn't work, so Cody started whipping him with his belt instead, and just to clarify, Darby was out of the body bag at this point. So if anybody had tuned into Fyter Fest, It wasn't like 5 minutes with a dude in a body bag. Allen did manage to hit a modified stunner, to which Cody responded by hitting the crossroads, but if you can believe it, we did indeed hit the time limit, which means it ended in a draw. Now, we're not used to draws here when it comes to mainstream Western wrestling, but that's why I loved it so much. Maybe AEW used it too quickly, but they've established it now and they'd let you know, hey, we can have draws, and we had a draw right here. Made me feel all tingly. What happened afterwards, though? Well, you tell me. It seemed like the referee was going to extend this for another 5 minutes, but instead Sean Spears, you remember Sean Spears, Ty Dillinger, 10-10, he came out of nowhere. He had a steel chair in his hand and he blasted it. Look, I'm closing my eyes, I can't believe it so much. He blasted it right into Cody's head, and I mean right into his skull. MJF and SCU ran out to chase away Spears, but it was too late. Cody's head was just utterly busted open, and I'm pretty sure this was the real deal, given it was in the back of his head. And I'm just going to say this. I know way too much about CTE and concussions to be able to enjoy that, and there's loads of other things you can do with a chair instead of giving people unprotected chair shots to the head. And I understand it's going to annoy a lot of people, but hey man, this is just what I think. It's just how I feel. I don't need to see this in any wrestling promotion. Because of that, it's getting her down. And look, it did work. It made me react. But I don't want Cody Rhodes to be stumbling around at 65 not knowing where he is, because he got some style implanted into his nose. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega then took on the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid, and I knew straight away this was going to rock, because we talked about the tease that the Elite gave us earlier, and they came out here in Street Fighter clothes. We had Ryu, we had Ken, we had Akuma, and I felt like I was 8 years old again. I absolutely loved it. So to all those people on my Twitter going, I couldn't take it seriously, well, I could. Bring it on. Dragon Punch up. It was also even more ridiculous because they got Justin Roberts to get on the microphone and say, round one, fight. And that's what they do in Capcom's video game. And also, given what the event was, I mean, it was a semi-serious event, but there was a lot of comedy on it. I was completely all right with this. Like I say, it filled me with so much joy. I'm not going to get mad at joy. I mean, you can't do it all the time, but again, we'd already shifted around the serious pillars. Give me some fun. There's nothing wrong with fun, people. Also, within 30 seconds, this did turn into a video game. I don't know if it was meant to be like a 3-on-3 tag match, but straight away they all went, meh, let's all get in the ring and let's just perform some of the craziest maneuvers I have ever seen in my entire life. And we could sit here and we could run them all down, but you'd write a letter and it'd go like this. Dear Simon, hope you're well. Stop lying about AEW matches. There's no way any of this could be true. I genuinely thought because I'd had no sleep, I was having some kind of brain aneurysm. It's one of those things you're just gonna have to watch, and whether it appeals to you, well, that's gonna be down to your taste. I mean, if you tuned into this expecting like a Cactus Can classic, that is on you, my friend, so let's just talk about the finish. Kenny Omega gave a V-trigger to the Laredo Kid, he gave him the One Wing Angel, and he got the pin, and isn't that a really intellectual thing to do? Because Kenny Omega, he's been having a hard time with it recently. Obviously, he lost at the last pay-per-view, and here he's getting his win back, and before the end of the night, he's looking like a badass again, like a roller coaster. And that's all I've got. You're right, this match deserves me talking about it more, but I can't do it justice. Just know that if you want one of the most erratic and just out of nowhere and all-out pace craziness that you've ever seen in your life, you owe it to you to go and see this match. I don't believe it was possible. I think I made it up in my head. Again, I think I'm actually still asleep, even though I think I'm awake. I dreamt this, and now I'm doing a dream version of ups and downs. The wrestling world has changed, man, and these guys are probably leading the charge. In a cool twist too, we had a fake main event because it was Joey Janella going against Jon Moxley, and the reason it was in this position is because it was unsanctioned. So AEW were like, well, I guess we got to put it there. I know that's nothing new in wrestling. I mean, NXT did that a few months ago, whenever it was, but I like it. As for the match itself, where it was an acquired taste, but still, I'm giving it an up. If you care, Moxley did not come out with his New Japan belt, nor was it mentioned by commentators, so I presume that relationship is on the rocky road to hell. And also, if you're only used to the former Dean Ambrose in WWE, this will be the most surprising thing you've seen all year. Don't even think of it as any kind of wrestling match. If you've missed the Attitude Era or ECW, or you're just into super hardcore matches, this was for you because, my word, they pulled out everything. There was prosthetic limbs, barbed wire, wrapped steel chairs with bloody tissues on them, because as the commentary team told us, that's the blood from Moxley's hand when he was sorting this out earlier. Spears through tables, barbed wire, boars, jumps off ladders, through tables, and we even saw Moxley get a bunch of thumbtacks, throw them onto the ring canvas, and then take Joey Janela's boots off and consistently slam his feet into the pins. It made me feel sick and it made me go blah. And I made that noise about 100 times more, so it was like blah, 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 blah. And I sounded like a frog when Jon Moxley won by impaling DDT Joey Janela into the thumbtacks. And I just want to let you know, again, you just need to watch it. There is blood, there is gore, there is violence, there is carnage. I don't know how these two people are alive right now. Everything within medical science dictates that they should be dead. What I do appreciate is that clearly All Elite Wrestling is going to offer something for everyone. And while I doubt you'd be able to do something like this on weekly TNT TV, clearly they're letting you know now, but we will do it on pay-per-view as and when we think the time is right. And I know there's an audience out there that wants this stuff. A lot of them were in the crowd on this evening because they were going crazy. And again, even though it was like a car crash, I can't lie, I did get into it, even though I got into it like this. It's like a window opened. I want to see some? Yes, no, yes, no. That was the wrong way around, but you take my point. You don't end a show in AEW without building to whatever's next though, and that's why as Moxley was celebrating, Kenny Omega arrived to get his revenge from Double or Nothing. He V-triggered Moxley right in the face and also eventually was hitting him with drumsticks because there was a band on the stage. You know what I'm talking about if you watch Being the Elite. And he gave him a DDT on the stage, and as he left, Moxley was just sat there with a big grin on his face. So Kenny did come out once more with a trash can and smashed him with that too, but Moxley, he was still smiling, and we're building to that match in a few months. You gotta stay with the narrative, people, because if they ain't gonna drop it, neither do I, and I can get excited about it. And that was that, really. It was a bunch of guys and girls going 172 miles an hour from start to finish, and it kind of took this idea about what a match card should be, where you go like dun 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 dun, and just throw it out the window. It's like this, dun 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 dun. Blew my brain. There were certainly things here that won't appear to all, but I appreciate AEW trying. Again, the chair shot to the head was not my thing, but maybe there's loads of other people out there that don't care about that stuff and they enjoyed it. And that is you. You get 2 thumbs up, as does the overall show for Fyter Fest. It doesn't get 2 thumbs up. There's my spinny arrow. There it is. It gets the up. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about AEW's Fyter Fest, only officially the second pay-per-view in All Elite Wrestling's history. Like, share, and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, read some articles about this event. Follow What Culture on Twitter, WhatCultureWWE, so you can stay up to date and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you very much for watching, and I do apologize if this episode felt a little disjointed, but I am literally on 0 hours sleep, so I could have come across like, I don't know, a gerbil that took a bunch of acid. But I do want to say this, big shout out to all the well wishes and thanks that loads of people sent me after my match with Nathan Cruz, the first ever ups and down match that happened at Defiant Wrestling's Built to Destroy. Look at the time, around about 14 hours ago. I'm not going to spoil it here because you can still check it out at access.wearedefiant.com, but I just want to know, I did what I could, I did my best, I pulled some stuff out the bag. I know now there's a lot to be said, and a lot to be learned, and a lot to process, but that's what we do. That's what we do. Also, Dad, you know who you are. I did that for you. And I'll see you soon.